Have you ever stopped to think that sometimes destiny tests our kindness in the simplest moments? On that cold December afternoon, a young boy walked alone through the streets. His clothes were dirty, his eyes tired, his body trembling from the cold. Hundreds of people passed by him, yet no one really saw him. Until a humble elderly woman with wrinkled hands and a generous heart decided to stop. While the world hurried on, she knelt down, looked into the boy's eyes, and asked if he was hungry. She didn't know that this small gesture would change everything, because what seemed like a simple act of compassion would become the beginning of an extraordinary story, one where kindness would be rewarded in a way she could never have imagined. Sometimes those who have the least are the ones who give the most, and the universe always finds a way to give back. Before I tell you what happened, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell because this story is truly going to move you. Who was that lost boy really? And how did fate turn a simple act of kindness into an unexpected miracle? Clara Johnson lived alone in a small house on the outskirts of Portland. The yellowed walls told old stories, and the front garden, filled with daisies and herbs, was the pride of that sweet-hearted lady. Widowed for many years, she survived on a modest pension and what little she earned sewing clothes for her neighbors. Even with so little, she never stopped lending a helping hand to those in need. That cold December afternoon, the sky hung heavy in shades of gray, and the first snow of winter had just begun to fall. Clara pedaled slowly on her old bicycle, heading home from the market, when something made her stop. Across the street, beside the wall of a closed shop, a boy sat curled up, hugging his knees. The wind tossed his brown hair, and dust stained the torn coat he wore. People passed by in a hurry, turning their eyes away. No one seemed to notice him. Clara pressed the brakes on her bicycle. For a moment, she just watched. Her heart began to beat faster. There was something familiar in that look of fear and helplessness. Leaving her grocery bags in the basket, she slowly crossed the street. "Hey, sweetheart," she said softly. "Are you okay? Are you alone?" The boy lifted his face. His eyes were filled with tears. I got lost," he whispered. "I don't know where my dad is." Clara felt her chest tighten. Without a second thought, she took the scarf from around her neck and wrapped it over his shoulders. "Shh, it's going to be all right. Come with me, okay? It's too cold to stay out here." Ethan hesitated, but the kindness in her eyes convinced him. Together they walked to Clara's small house. Inside, the smell of warm soup filled the kitchen. She sat him by the fireplace, covered him with a blanket, and served him a bowl of soup. As he ate, Ethan looked around, curious about the little details, the old photographs, the piles of books, the lamp patched with tape. Everything was simple, yet full of warmth. Clara didn't ask where he came from or who his father was. She simply cared for him. She did what her heart told her to do, just as she always did. Outside, the snow kept falling silently, as if the universe itself was watching that moment. And little did she know that this small act of kindness would lead her to a destiny that would change her life forever. Sometimes it's in the moment we help someone that we discover the true meaning of being alive. The morning dawned calm. Outside, the ground was covered with a thin layer of snow, and the timid sun cast a golden glow on the windows of Clara's house. She woke up early, as she always did. She lit the stove, set the kettle to boil, and made simple pancakes with what she had in the pantry. When she turned around, she saw little Ethan still sleeping on the couch, wrapped in the blanket she had given him the night before. For a moment, she just watched him. There was something about that boy that deeply moved her. He seemed to carry the weight of a world far too heavy for his age. Clara walked over and covered him gently. "Sleep a little longer, dear," she whispered with a smile. "You're home now." A short while later, Ethan woke up startled, unsure of where he was. "It's all right," she said quickly, trying to comfort him. "You spent the night here. I'm Clara. Would you like some breakfast?" The boy nodded shyly. As he ate, his curious eyes wandered around the little kitchen. The old clock, the floral curtains, the steam rising from the kettle. "Do you live alone?" he asked. "Yes, I do. But when you do good, you're never truly alone," she replied with a calm smile. Ethan lowered his gaze, poking at his pancake. I shouldn't have left home. I just wanted to find my dad." Clara didn't press him. She simply placed her hand over his, a gesture that said everything. "You're not alone anymore." Throughout the day, she helped him wash up, found clean clothes from a neighbor, and mended his torn jacket with her old sewing machine. "There," she said, finishing the last stitch. "Good as new." Ethan smiled for the first time, a small, shy smile, but a genuine one. Later, they put out food for the birds in the yard. Clara taught him how to whistle, and the house, once silent, filled with life. Neither of them knew that this simple day would be remembered forever. For her, it was just the instinct to care. For him, it was the first true act of kindness he had felt after days of fear and loneliness. That afternoon, while Ethan fell asleep again on the couch, Clara looked out the window and thought, if everyone did just one small act of kindness, the world would be a gentler place. She didn't know it yet, but fate was already in motion. Somewhere across the city, a powerful man named Jordan Bennett was desperately searching the streets, looking for the son who had disappeared. Kindness is like a seed. We plant it without knowing, but one day it blossoms in ways we could never imagine. In the days that followed, little Ethan began helping Clara with the small chores around the house. They swept the yard, fed the birds, and tended to the flowers in the garden. The boy's presence seemed to bring new life to the place. Clara felt more alive than she had in years. But not everyone saw it that way. Around the neighborhood, whispers began to spread. "Did you see? That old lady is sheltering some strange boy," whispered Mrs. Miller from across the street. "Probably the son of some delinquent," another replied with disdain. The words drifted like a cold wind between houses, slipping through doors and windows. That morning, while Clara hung laundry on the clothesline, the neighbor approached her. "Clara, do you even know who that boy is?" she asked, arms crossed. "Not yet," Clara replied calmly, "but I know he needed help." "What if he's dangerous? What if he ran away from somewhere? You should call the police." Clara took a deep breath. "Dear, sometimes the real danger is turning away from someone who needs help," she said, her gaze steady. But deep down, the neighbor's words left her uneasy. She knew nothing about Ethan's past, and the boy avoided talking about his father. At night, Clara sometimes heard him whisper the name Jordan in his sleep, as if calling out to someone far away. The next day, on her way to the market, she felt the stares. Some people stepped aside, others whispered behind her back. Still, she held her head high and kept walking. She knew who she was, and what she did came from the heart. When she returned home, she found Ethan in the yard, trying to fix a broken toy he'd found on the street. "Is it working?" she asked with a smile. "Almost," he said, tongue between his teeth in concentration. "My dad used to fix things like this too." The word "dad" carried a tone of longing that tightened Clara's chest. She knelt beside him. "We'll get it working, dear. Sometimes it takes time to fix what's broken, but we always can." Ethan looked up at her and smiled. In that moment, Clara was sure she was doing the right thing, even if the whole world judged her. Outside, the clouds were gathering, the cold was growing sharper, and miles away, billionaire Jordan Bennett was intensifying the search for his missing son, offering a reward for any information. But the woman who had truly found him had no idea who he was. Those who act out of love don't need applause. Time always reveals the truth. The days grew colder. Snow covered the streets like a silent blanket, and the wind seemed to carry an omen with it. Clara and Ethan lived a simple life, surrounded by warmth and small acts of care. He helped with chores, listened to old stories on the crackling radio, and laughed at her attempts to make perfectly round pancakes. For a brief moment, everything felt peaceful. But Clara's peace would not last. One gray morning, 2 police cars stopped in front of her house. The sound of car doors slamming shattered the quiet of the neighborhood. Curious neighbors peeked through their windows. Clara stepped onto the porch, her heart pounding. "Mrs. Johnson?" one of the officers asked sternly. "We received a report that you are harboring a missing child." Her face went pale. "Harboring? I just found him on the street. He was cold, alone. I only wanted to help." Ethan appeared behind her, frightened, clutching the edge of her coat. The officers exchanged glances. "Ma'am, we'll need to take the boy to the city's children's shelter until we can confirm his identity." The words hit her like a blow. "Please, don't take him. He's safe here with me. I haven't done anything wrong." But no one listened. One of the officers knelt down, trying to calm the boy. Ethan began to cry. "I don't want to go. Please, Miss Clara, don't let them take me." Clara wrapped her arms around him, her heart breaking apart. "It's going to be all right, my love. I promise it will." When the car drove away, carrying Ethan, the snow began to fall harder. Clara stood frozen on the sidewalk, watching the boy's small face disappear behind the fogged-up window. That night, the house felt larger and colder. The clock on the wall marked the slow hours of an emptiness she couldn't describe. She sat in her rocking chair, eyes fixed on the scarf he had worn, still folded neatly on the sofa. Tears came quietly, heavy and unending. The sound of rain and distant sirens blended with the echo of her loneliness. She wondered if following her heart had been a mistake. But deep down, she knew. Goodness is never a mistake, only misunderstood. Meanwhile, across the city, in a grand mansion, Jordan Bennett held his son's photograph in trembling hands. He told his security team, "Find my boy, no matter what it takes." Fate was moving silently, preparing the reunion that would change everything. Even when the world punishes you for doing good, the universe keeps every act of kindness, and one day, it gives it back twice over.
3 days had passed since Ethan was taken away. For Clara, it felt like years. The house was silent. No laughter, no sound of small footsteps down the hall. She tried to pass the time crocheting, but the needle always stopped whenever a memory crossed her mind. The cold of winter didn't just come from the window, it came from within. Then, on a quiet Sunday morning, the sound of a car pulling up outside broke the silence. She stood slowly, her heart racing. A tall man in a dark suit stepped out, accompanied by 2 bodyguards. "Mrs. Clara Johnson?" he asked, his voice firm but kind. "Yes, that's me," she replied cautiously. The man took a deep breath, and a faint tremor touched his voice. "My name is Jordan Bennett. I'm Ethan's father." For a moment, the world stood still. Clara raised a trembling hand to her mouth. "The boy's father?" Jordan nodded. "I've been searching for him for weeks. They told me an elderly woman found him and cared for him. I came here myself to thank you." She swallowed hard, fighting back tears. I only did what anyone should do. He looked so lost, so alone." Jordan stepped closer. "You have no idea what your kindness meant to me," he said, his eyes glistening. "Ethan told me everything. He said he's never felt as safe as he did here with you." At that moment, a small figure appeared from behind the car. "Miss Clara!" Ethan shouted, running toward her. She knelt down, and he threw himself into her arms. Their embrace lasted long seconds, the kind of hug that mends what's broken. Jordan watched, deeply moved. "My son nearly froze that night. If it weren't for you, maybe—" His voice faltered. "I could never repay this debt, but I want to try." Clara smiled softly. "I don't need anything, Mr. Bennett. I'm just glad he's safe." Jordan looked around. The modest little house, the worn roof, the tired garden. "You may not need anything," he said gently, "but you deserve it." A few days later, Clara received a letter. Inside were the most touching words she had ever read. "People like you remind me that there is still kindness in this world. You helped my son when no one else would. May this home be the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with as much love as the act that saved my boy's life. Jordan Bennett." At the bottom of the letter, a golden ribbon held a set of keys to a new home. Clara wept silently, holding the letter close, while Ethan ran around the room, smiling like before. On the wall, the old clock kept ticking, marking time that this time rewarded the right heart. What's done with love
time turns into a miracle. Months had passed since the morning Jordan Bennett appeared at Clara's door. Now, her home stood in a quiet, sunlit neighborhood, surrounded by trees and the laughter of children. The bright walls reflected a new chapter in her life, one she had never dreamed she would live. In the backyard, a brand new swing moved gently, pushed by Ethan's small hands. "Hiya, Miss Clara," he laughed, his voice carrying through the warm afternoon air like music. Clara, wearing her floral apron and hair neatly tied in a bun, laughed along with him. Her eyes sparkled in the soft evening light, the same light that once shone on that cold alley where it had all begun. From time to time, Jordan would visit, leaving his suit and briefcase behind, bringing fresh flowers instead. He had become part of Clara's routine, not as a billionaire, but as a friend, a confidant, a reminder of how fate connects souls in the most unexpected ways. "You know, Clara," he said one afternoon, watching Ethan play with the little dog they had adopted together, "money never gave me peace, but seeing my son smile here, it reminded me of what really matters." She smiled softly. Sometimes God uses the most unlikely paths to teach us to see with the heart. Jordan nodded, his voice thick with emotion. "And you taught me that, without even realizing it." A gentle breeze rustled the trees as Clara looked up at the sky. In that moment, she understood. It wasn't just Ethan who had been saved that night. She had been too. The loneliness that once filled her days had been replaced with purpose. The love she gave without expecting anything in return had come back multiplied in affection, friendship, and gratitude. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of gold, Clara closed her eyes for a moment and smiled. Life always finds a way to return the kindness we give, not always when we want it, but exactly when we need it most. The camera would slowly pull back, revealing the small, vibrant home, the boy running through the yard, and the elderly woman watching with peaceful eyes. A story that began in sorrow, but ended in light. A reminder that true wealth lives in the simple act of kindness. Sometimes the world feels cold, rushed, indifferent, but all it takes is a simple gesture, a hand reaching out, a caring glance to change someone's destiny. Clara didn't know who that boy was. She didn't know his last name, his story, or his past. She only felt that she had to help. And it was that impulse from the heart that changed the lives of 3 people, including her own. Because kindness, when it's genuine, always finds its way back. It might take some time, but it always returns in the form of love, gratitude, or even a brand new beginning. And maybe that's what life tries to teach us every day, that when we choose kindness, the universe chooses to take care of us. Now, tell me, would you have done the same as Miss Clara? Leave your answer in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this message, because sometimes a simple click can bring hope to someone who needs to hear it today. And if you liked this story, there's another one waiting for you. Click the video appearing on your screen right now, watch it, and share it, because every act of kindness deserves to be heard.